Hi everyone, welcome to Lovey's Diaries. And today I am reviewing the book Pregnant King by Devdutt Pattanaik. Tan tan. So, uh, let's start. This book was published in 2008 by Devdutt. It is considered in the fictional genre. And for those of you who don't know who Devdutt is, he is a Indian mythology expert, writer. He writes about folklore as well. So let's start with the summary of the book. I'm going to keep it short. So the gist of the book is that Yuvanashva, a young king, gets pregnant and bears a child by drinking a magic potion. And the thought process that is going through his head and the result or the outcome of this thought process around the people on the people around him is pretty much the plot of the book. Now, I would like to talk about the things that hit me the most about the book. Now, this is my opinion as a reader. So, disclaimer and spoiler alert. But I'm not going to go too much into it, but a little bit just so that I can explain my points a little better. Enough for you to keep you engaged in the book if you do decide to read it. So let's go point wise. The first thing that hit me the most about the book was gender fluidity. Now that is a topic not many writers touch upon, so I give kudos to them for that. Gender fluidity is that these characters go about feeling from the, I would say, perspective of another gender other than the one that is assigned to them at birth. As simple as I can put it. Like you have Yuvan Ashwa, who is this epitome of a king. He is young, he is virile, he is well read, and he is very fluent with the dharma and everything. So his mind is, his thought process runs in a certain way. And then he goes through motherhood, which is a very different ball game, you know, because you see movies which tell you that yes, gender exchanges happen and the male gender tends to have more respect for women after that. But here it's a different ball game. Here the writer wants explores the possibility of a character going through motherhood, which is a very different thing. I'm not saying it's different from being a woman, I'm just saying it's a very different feeling altogether. So you have this sense of gender fluidity right here, you know. You have other characters who also feel that, where you have Shikhandi, Draupad's son or daughter, not sure. Why? Because he is born a princess and yet he is raised as a prince. So, what does that make him? His body is of a woman, and yet his thought process and training has been done as a prince. So, he does not know where does he stand. There's gender fluidity. You have some strong female characters in the book. His mother, Shilavati, plays a very important and crucial role in Yuva's life. She becomes this young widow, uh, but she is stoic and responsible, intelligent. She makes sure that she takes care of the kingdom. The kingdom flourishes under her rule. She is a nurturing mother. She admires and adores her son. And so does, and vice versa. You also adores his mother, you know. He even mentions in one of the lines in the book is that he mentions her as if she was a man, she would be Chakravarti, you know, someone who is very well versed with uh, the dharma. And yet sometimes she gets sidelined to being an inauspicious widow or just a regent, which is hurtful to her. You have Simantini, his eldest wife, who takes that blame of not being able to give him the heir, takes the abuse and the insults, that jibes that come at her with a lot of grace, and accepts it, and even wants her husband to marry again so that wife can give him the heir that he deserves. I think the other thing that hit me the most about this was that all the characters, have shades of gray in them, which is quite close to reality, if you ask me. They're good and they're bad, but it's not black and white. All of them have good intentions. Yet sometimes they get overwhelmed by emotions like anger and rage and greed, lust, self doubt, all of this. None of these characters are really bad or are really good, which is how people really are. The other thing that I really liked about this book is that in this way, he, the writer, is exploring the different spectrums of being a parent. You have Shilavati, who is this nurturing, admiring parent, and then you have Draupad, who not only killed his children but also wants to create new children only for the sake of taking revenge and destroying the Kuru clan and Dronacharya. So he's treating his children as means to an end, not really an offspring. The characters here also go through these phases where they question the patriarchal rules that have been kept in place, the rigidity of the society. Just because it is written does not make it right. Now, in I'll give you an example wherein a person, a man of a higher Varn, like Kshatriya or Brahman, can marry into a lower Varn, Shudra, Vaishya, but vice versa cannot happen. So, example of hypocrisy of and the patriarchy rule over people. They want to some of these characters want to be accepted for who they are. Not everyone fits into the mold of your typical binary sexes. But that doesn't mean that you should not accept them. That is their thinking. Then you have the writer exploring not only gender fluidity, he's also exploring identity crisis, which is very true even in today's time. Every character in this book goes through identity crisis at some stage or the other, which also is an important part of our lives. I don't know anyone who has not gone through that. So we may think that these are mythological times because the timelines are very parallel to Mahabharata. So there's Mahabharata and there's this parallel timeline happening in this book. And there are a few crossover characters as well. But that's about it. But the point is that even though we think this is a mythological story and it goes back so much time and earlier in time, but the problems remain the same. That is what I'm trying to say. You, pro- Technology and progress is not just by technology. Progress is also here. The Another very integral part of this book, which hit me the most in my heart, was that the characters who were experiencing gender fluidity had this sense of guilt and shame, which was understandable, relatable, which is what plays a very integral part of this. Yuvanashva isn't the only person who goes through this transformation in his mind. He is a father, yet he wants to be a mother. He wants to be accepted as a mother too. But he feels the sense of shame and guilt that what does that make him? He is the king. The king, dharma, he has to follow dharma. So according to them, dharma is like a baked clay pot, not wet clay which can be molded to your whims and fancies. So does he break the rules? Does he follow them? If he doesn't follow it, how is the society run? This is an integral part of the plot. So let's do some quick pros and cons and wrap up this video. Pros, simple language. Anyone can read this book. Not a very big book, so you can complete it in a few days. Not a very fast paced book, not very slow, medium paced. And the most important part is that it gives you a fresh perspective and food for thought. The only con I could come up with is that some of these characters sometimes get left behind or are a little underdeveloped. So it's a little difficult wherein they suddenly come into your timeline or just suddenly enter the plot and then again disappear. So that's the only con I could come up with. Overall, a good recommendation. You can definitely give this a read. It's an old one, but a good one. And so, one more thing. Do let me know in the comment section below, what you think of this review. If you want me to review some more books, I would happily oblige. And hit that subscribe button so you see more content from my side. Have a great day ahead.